are so happy to have with us Mrs. Sharon Joseph, the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club here in Harlem, to share some important information with us. Let us welcome her at this time.
Good morning, family.
Good morning.
First, we're going to give praise and honor to God, who's the head of my life, and I hope he's the head of yours. I was so blessed by that song. A wonderful change has come over me. And that's what we need right now in this season where life just seems a little crazy. I hope that despite what we've been through in the last couple of weeks, that we have not lost hope. So I first want to say thank you to the Reverend Al Sharpton, Dominique, Ashley, and the NAM leaders for bringing us all together as believers, as dreamers, and most importantly, as fighters. I want to say my name is Sharon Joseph, and I am the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Harlem. And for those of you who are not aware of the Boys and Girls Club of Harlem, we are located on 145th Street between Amsterdam and Broadway. We've been here for 44 years in this community fighting for our children. And like so many youth organizations, we came out of the Common Avenue Baptist Church. And that's important to say because sometimes we have forgotten about the role that our church plays in youth development. So I want to say that we have been fighting for a lot of things, but I need us to remember today that hashtag our children matter. Can someone say that with me? Hashtag our children matter. See, in the process of fighting for so much, sometimes we forget the people who are our future, and that's our kids. Now, I know a lot of you are Bible believers like myself, and if you remember the Old Testament and the New Testament, who did they try to kill off early? They tried to kill off Moses as a baby. They tried to kill off Jesus as a baby. Why? Because they knew the leadership potential in our children, and that's what's happening today. They are trying to kill our children. We heard someone say, please pray for the young girl who got shot on 145th Street, 7 years old, standing with her daddy at Starbucks. Our children are killing our children. The government is trying to kill our children by eliminating DEI programs, eliminating the Board of Education. We can't let this happen. See, we have got to stop acting like our power is only through the government.
That's right.
Can I say that again? Our power is not only through the government. I grew up in a time, I grew up right up the block on 152nd Street, and I am a first-generation American. Yes, my mama was an immigrant. My mother worked 2 jobs to support myself and my sister. We were latchkey kids. But the community, the church, helped my mother out. And because the church and the community helped my mother out, even though I was in public school, I went to programs in the arts and cultures and got a scholarship, went to college, went to graduate school, and spent the last 20 years working on Wall Street. This is what the government is trying to stop. They're trying to stop the young people like me, like you, who are in this community, and they're the next Reverend Al Sharpton. They're the next Kamala Harris. They're the next Michelle Obama. See, that's what they're trying to stop. But we can't let that happen. So let me just tell you a little bit about what we're doing up at the Boys and Girls Club of Harlem. We are creating young men and women who believe that they are the future. And I got to talk to the parents in just one quick second. And parents, don't get mad at me. I am tired of seeing you put cell phones in your 3-year-old's hands. Put a book in their hands. Put a book in their hands. We have got to remember that our children are the future. We have to stop suffering from the bigotry of low expectations for our children. We've got to believe that our children deserve more. See, I'm not going to ask the government to keep doing stuff for me and my kids. I'm going to say, you, me, all of us, let's take care of our children. So I want to thank Dominique and Ashley for what they're doing at the huddle with our youth because they're teaching our kids advocacy. They're teaching our kids citizenship. They're teaching our kids leadership. See, if we just sit back and say, woe is us because it didn't go our way, we're never going to get anywhere. We're also going to teach our kids that when something doesn't go right, they don't have grit and resilience. But that's not the community I grew up in. See, I grew up in a community that said, no way. Jesus is my all. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. I'm going to press towards the mark. I'm going to run this race. See, you got to start teaching your kids a little Bible. You got to start instilling now the Word of God. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody. But you see, when you start to teach your kids resilience and grit and hope, then our suicide rates of our black young men will go down. Because right now it's extremely high and it's over the hill. Our kids are suffering from literacy and mathematics inequality because of racial inequality. They don't want our kids to have. But you see, I remember there was a story of some little black boys and little black girls who did their thing. And because of them, we all stand here. So I ask you today to stand with me, to stand with Dominique, to stand with Ashley, to stand with the Youth Huddle, and make sure that we as a community remember hashtag our kids matter.
Thank you so much for that important information and for sharing that. We welcome our Man Change Ensemble. inspirational word coming from one of our leading pastors across the country. Please welcome to bring an inspirational word to us this morning, Reverend Dr. Patrick Young, Senior Pastor of the First Baptist Church of East Elmhurst, New York. Let us greet him with a warm National Action Network welcome.
Good morning, Nana family. To distinguish, wonderful, great national leader, Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, and to all those who share in the leadership of this wonderful, dynamic group of social justice group called National Action Network. And to I cannot come here without reflecting the memory of Attorney Michael Hardy, who is my dear friend. For the few minutes we have today, I want to turn your attention to the song, hearing all that's been shared this morning, Psalm 46. I just want to read verse 1. God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. Turn to your neighbor and look at your neighbor. Say, neighbor, good to see you this morning. And by the way, neighbor, God is. I just want to talk briefly from the subject, God is. We are living in an age and a time which we highlight as we see moving vastly among us, a time of uncertainty and unrest. After the election, it has affected in a trauma-filled way across the country to lives and cities and neighborhoods and individuals who thought the election would be one way and turn out to be another way. But in spite of all that, we have been left, and people have left with question marks, with a sense of uncertainty about what is going to happen. The unknown is knocking at our door. And we want to know, how do we handle the uncertainty and the unrest and the unknown? Well, here the psalmist begs our attention here in this text. And he highlights to us, he moves us from uncertainty to certainty. And he says, God is our refuge and strength, our ever-present help in a time of trouble. Look at this, first of all, at this powerful certainty highlighted by this psalmist. He gives a affirmation, and he gives an affirmation of certainty and an affirmation of understanding that when life stops not lifing, God is still living. Let me say it again. And when life is stopped lifing, God is still living. This text, we're moving up with this power of certainty. And he gives us this issue. He said, God is. Now, my English teacher always told me is a verb. And verb is something that is alive. That the God we serve is not dead or absent. He's alive. And that reminds us that whatever appears to us in the moments of frustration, and the moments of trials, and the moments of chaos, and the moments of uncertainty, the understanding those who are connected with the Creator and those who trust in the triumph of God, we have the certain assurance that God is still alive. And if he's alive, he can make things work. But look at this. Look at the song. He says, God is our refuge. Now, in the Hebrew translation, it means that God is to us. I like that. That God is to us a shelter. Now, some of y'all look at me about shelter. Now, he is a place where I can find asylum. He's a place of sanctuary. Yeah, some of y'all still ain't got it. Asylum, sanctuary. What's the word? He is our embassy. You know what an embassy is, right? When every country has an embassy. And we have a United States embassy predicament and you're threatened or you find yourself in a threatening time, you can run to the embassy and find some refuge. Do I have witnesses up here? Well, life, you will be traveling in life, and we're traveling right now. We're traveling down an unknown and uncertain road we're on right now. But I want to suggest to you, if God is our refuge, He is our embassy. And when you go to the embassy, the one thing you understand, there is protection at the embassy. There's a sanctuary at the embassy. There's comfort at the embassy. And so the psalmist will remind us that we have a God who gives us comfort and gives us a sense of strength and a sense of sanctuary in a time of trouble. It happens in a time of trouble. Not in a time of triumph, but in a time of trouble. So what I want to suggest to you, we're in a time of trouble. We're in trouble time. Don't be fooled. We are in some trouble times. But remind us that God is our refuge in trouble times. Well, let me close this thing. But He's not just our protection, but then finally, there's provision. There is protection in the midst of challenging times. I like that. In other words, God can protect us. In other words, God got our back. We have support, and we have stability, and we have strength in that God who never changes. I like that, but then I guess you don't feel me up here. Let me make it about support and strength. This past Christmas, I was at home, and so I was being clever. I put all the toys in the car, and so I put all the gifts in the car. And so what I did, I left out going to the garage, and my garage leaves my house going outside to the garage. Well, the door decides shut and locked. Now, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the garage, cold, going to get some toys, going to get some gifts. And now I can't get back in the house. I don't have no cell phone with me. But all I remember, I said, oh, you know what I said. I was in a bad predicament. But I remember the door was open of my car. And in my car, I have own stuff. Are y'all with me here today? And so when I got
In 1999, there was a brutal killing by police here in the Bronx, New York. A young man named Amadou Diallo, who had come to this country seeking a better life and seeking a way to get a college degree and earn a living and send home money to his family. Amadou came home one night on Willow Avenue in the Bronx, took his keys out to open his door in the vestibule to go upstairs to his apartment, and police came through the door saying they thought it was a gun shot at him 41 times and killed him with 19 bullets. We called on the police to be prosecuted, and they refused to do so. We called on justice, and they refused to even discuss it. And we started 13 days in front of one police plaza, sitting in one police plaza every day. We took a knee. It started with 8 of us, and it went all the way to we had 200 a day by the end of the 13th day. Former Mayor Dave Dinkins came and went to jail with us. Congressman Charles Rangel went to jail with us. Congressman Meeks went to jail. And the mayor at the time refused to even meet with black leaders on the issue. His name was Rudy Giuliani. He said that there was nothing to discuss. 19 bullets killed an unarmed man in his own house. Nothing to discuss. But we kept on fighting. And down through the years, we got some police measures on the books. And when Obama was in, we got some national. And then we got in the middle of the George Floyd movement, we were able to get the police indicted and convicted. That's why I tell people that fights don't happen overnight. It took from the 55 bus boycott in Montgomery to 64 to get a Civil Rights Act. Some of you microwave activists want to have 2 rallies and things gonna change overnight. But things take time. But I live to see not only the laws change, I live to remember, Gwen Carr, that I stood and still stand with Mrs. Kadiatou Diallo, who was the mother of Amadou. And I remember that Giuliani had called her, wouldn't meet with black leaders, and had called her and said, you can deal with me. I don't want to deal with their leaders. And she said, if you can't talk to them, you can't talk to me. And that black woman stood up for us in 99. And I lived to see the other day, just yesterday, the same Rudy Giuliani had to hand over his Mercedes to 2 black women named Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. The race isn't given to the swift, nor to the strong. But if you can hold out, you'll change. Shaken and some traumatized by the results of the election. But those of us that are grounded and anchored in things deeper than one election. This ain't about one election. It's going to take more than one election to turn us around. We've been beaten before. We've been defeated before. But the more they knock us down, the stronger we are when we get back up. So I believe weeping may endure. Go ahead and cry it out. Go ahead and get it out. Weeping may endure, but I told them when I spoke at the Democratic Convention, joy. I still believe it, joy. I don't care how scared you are, joy is coming in the morning, and your change will come. National Action Network, Change Choir, give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. All right, family, we're happy to be here. Another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally for you that are here live at the House of Justice. 106 West 145th Street in the Village of Harlem. And for you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, and for those of you watching us on various platforms around the country and even around the world, I get text messages from people in Africa and Europe that watch us on Saturday morning. We're happy to be with you to bring our report on where the action is. Welcome our Impact Television fans. And finally, let me thank again our presider, Sister Nancy Darlene Crawford, our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson, band, give Chris and the band. And then we enjoy that inspirational message. One of our leading activists, pastors, and developers. Give a hand, Reverend Dr. Patrick Young. I listened to him talking about calling that All-Star. That when he couldn't get where he wanted to get, he called her an all-star. I know Tony, about the 6th round of the Mike Tyson fight, was called an all-star last night. But all-star didn't show up for Tony or Mike. But you keep calling, Tony. Your change will come. What my friends calling Rev Young, I couldn't believe grown folk staying up all night watching a 58-year-old man try to do it. And I love Mike Tyson, me and him were friends, but I just couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it. God bless him. I'm glad he didn't get hurt. Let me say by way of announcements, I got a lot of ground to cover, and I want to get everything in. And let me first say that on tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, I'll be preaching at Cornerstone Baptist Church in Brooklyn for their 107th anniversary. 107 years old. And at 574 Madison in Brooklyn. Reverend Dr. Lawrence Akers, the pastor. And I tell my children that when my mother first moved to New York from Alabama, her and her sister were members of Cornerstone. And the pastor at that time was Dr. Sandy Ray, who was one of the leading ministers in the country, one of the leaders of the National Baptist Convention. And he was a very close friend of Dr. Martin Luther King Sr. and Jr. And I remember when I was about maybe 3 or 4 years old, and Dr. King was stabbed, signing autographs of his book, Stride Toward Freedom, here in Harlem, that a lady stabbed him, and they put him in Harlem Hospital to recover. When he got out of the hospital, he convalesced in Dr. Sandy Ray's house on President Street in Brooklyn. And Dr. Ray lived right across the street from Bishop Washington, who I grew up under, who licensed me to preach. First time I saw or even heard of Martin Luther King was at Sandy Ray's house. And I tell them stories because a lot of us don't understand the rooting of a lot of our efforts, movements, and involvement. That's why I really appreciated what Sister Sharon Joseph talked about this morning with the Boys and Girls Club. Give her another hand. And that is, we get away from our grounding. And one of the reasons that they can destabilize you, reason why many of you are shook with this election, is that if you are not standing on a foundation, anything can shake you. But if your foundation is firm, even if the wind blows the penthouse, the building will still stand. And that's the problem. We got a lot of rootless preachers and ministers and leaders out here, not rooted in nothing. You're going to need more than just somebody telling you something that is superficial. You're going to have something that will get you through the storm. And that's where we are. So I really am glad to be with Dr. Aker and his beautiful First Lady tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock at Cornerstone. Then let me also announce early, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. I do not believe in the Pilgrim's version, I believe in our version. And every year we come together and deal with Thanksgiving with our community, because we thank God for another year. We give away turkeys on Tuesday, November 26th at 5 o'clock. And I need you volunteers to help us. We'll be passing out free turkeys for those that need it. And we want you to know 5 o'clock right here at the House of Justice. I'll be doing that. Then on Thanksgiving Day, we need volunteers. We serve here at the House of Justice on Thanksgiving Day, starting at 11 o'clock till 3. And what we do is we have Thanksgiving dinner here with the people. We invite people from the shelters. We invite people that are migrants. We invite seniors. Some seniors don't have a family to have Thanksgiving dinner with. So we tell them to have Thanksgiving dinner here with us. And I'm here and the whole family here. That's how we have Thanksgiving dinner. And I need volunteers. You can shine up at the counter or you can call 1-877-626-4651. 1-877-626-4651. And say, I can't stay from 11 to 3. I can do a half hour. I can do an hour. And come and help serve on Thanksgiving Day. And one brother came, a businessman, I want me to call his name, and he brought his daughter, and he helped serve last year. He was so inspired that he said we need to do it in Brooklyn as well. So he said, just set it up, I'll pay for it. So I'm leaving here and going to Brooklyn in the afternoon, and we're going to serve in Brooklyn on Thanksgiving Day at the Bedford Central Presbyterian Church, 1200 Dean Street. So you that volunteer, many of you are from Brooklyn, can just help me in Brooklyn. I'm going to do both days. And not both days, I'm going to do both in one day. On Thanksgiving Day, 11 o'clock here, and then at 2 p.m. in Brooklyn, 2 to 4:30. I need some Brooklyn volunteers. And then some of you are going to try to do both. Now, Tony, we're not letting you eat at both. You can eat in Harlem or eat in Brooklyn. I just want to be clear on that this morning. Let me say that, and it's very important. We should use every opportunity to come together and be together. The more we have our community in a family mentality, the more we can get through things that we need to get through. And many of us get rattled and can't deal with things, but don't understand if we could lean in and be with each other, that is what we need to do, and that's what it's about. In that spirit, there was this young lady, young girl, 7 years old, named Fatu, 7 years old, who was tragically injured in a recent shooting not far from here. Some gang banging going on. And she got caught in the crossfire. And on this Monday at 4 p.m., the National Action Network is going to join others in a prayer vigil in front of Harlem Hospital to pray for the recovery of this 7-year-old girl, Fatu. Our House of Justice Coordinator, Reverend Ron McHenry, and Sister Patrice Perry of our Crisis Department brought this, and I want you all to join them 4 o'clock in front of Harlem Hospital. When somebody is injured and there's a crisis in any part of our community, we need to respond together. One of the things that I'm very sensitive about, no matter how national we get, we just picked up 2 new chapters in Tennessee. But one of the mistakes that people have made in the past, Reverend Young, is that they get so national that they can't see folk around the corner. And that's why we're going to stand up for the prayers for this young 7-year-old. That's why when this 4-year-old, when this baby starved to death down the block, we went and had the vigil. I led it myself with his grandma. Because how you going to have a House of Justice and a block away, children starving, and you have nothing to say about it? Some of us are too high that we can't even deal on the ground. And that's why our rallies are packed every Saturday. That's why people watch it, because we never get too big to fight for that. I can't tell you how many times we've seen police shootings and other things, and people have called me or called Ben Crump to get me and said, would Reverend Sharpton do the funeral? I said, yeah. He said, well, they got a bad background. I said, all of us got something bad in our background. Some of y'all just didn't get caught, but some of y'all got a sheet from here to the door. Still don't mean you ought to be treated wrongly. Still don't mean that you don't have rights. And still don't mean that somebody needs to stand up for you. And that's what we need. That's why, again, I got to give it to Sister Joseph with this Boys and Girls Club. That's why we need to raise our children in that spirit. I was listening to a report, and I thought about, the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when they're old, they will not depart. And the wisdom of that is that in the middle of life, sometimes you may stray. All of us make mistakes. You get a little grown and start feeling yourself. But if you have been trained in something, and if you've been taught something, life will bring you back to what you've been trained in. But if you don't put the training in the child, if you don't do things like the Boys and Girls Club, they don't know what to return to because you never put it in them. Hello. And you'll learn that as life goes on. I remember growing up, stuff Dominique didn't understand. Kathy get on, and now I hear her yelling Marcus out the same thing Kathy's trying to say to her. And I started humming, you understand it better by and by. Just wait till you have your children and your grandchildren. And I ain't got a better friend in the world than Marcus Albert, because when he mess up, I just say, go to your mama. I won't pay for that later, but I got the mic now. So also, I want to commend Reverend McHenry and all of you that have been. Come on, stand up, Ron. Give my hand. And all of you that have been going down every day to the trial of Daniel Penny for the killing of Jordan Neely. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they've been having demonstrations, but they've been attending every day. Other groups have been there standing with that family. And we don't all have to agree on everything, but every group, every grassroots group needs to stand up with this family. Because if they can make it legal that anybody can choke you to death on a subway, I don't care how unruly they say it was, how uncomfortable it was, nobody has the right to take someone's life in the name of they will cause them a nuisance. But then who decides what's a nuisance or not? We demand and stand with everybody and the family of Jordan Neely, saying justice for Jordan Neely. I want everybody to come daily. They're there along with other groups. We can all. It's like a choir. Minister can tell you that a choir has people that sing different songs, or different notes rather. And some sing soprano, some sing alto, some tenor, some baritone, some can't sing at all, they just do their lips. And I can tell because when Tyrone gets a dud, he just plays the organ louder. But it takes all of that to make a choir. And it takes all of that in the activist community. Some are more one way, some are more another way, but all of us need to be standing up for what's right and not get in the way of fighting for justice. And so I want y'all to support them every day, and again on Tuesdays and Thursdays. NAN does the demonstrations outside of 100 Center Street. On Tuesdays, they do it at 9 in the morning, and on Thursdays, they do it at 1 in the afternoon after they have done the DEI protest in front of Bill Ackman's office. And some of y'all been faithful and been there 45 weeks with Bill Ackman. And then double up and go down to the court too, and we appreciate that. Even when I'm out of town, I'll be watching on the live stream, and people have been there, and we should not stop. Again, struggles are won when there is consistency. Let me go to one of the things that has been real troubling is that during the campaign, Patrick Young, a lot of people got into this whole situation of where we go. One of the things that I believe that we're grounded in, NAN comes out of the Dr. Martin Luther King tradition. And I grew up in his chapter here in New York. I was appointed youth director of the local chapter when I was 13 years old. I joined when I was 12. Reverend Jesse Jackson and Reverend William Jones made me the youth director. And I remember that we fought to get Dr. King's birthday a holiday. I remember how Mrs. King and Stevie Wonder would have rallies asking for a national holiday. I remember one year, 1982, James Brown, the Godfather, took me to the White House. Many of y'all saw that picture. And we met with Reagan and Bush about that holiday. And Ronald Reagan called Dr. King communist, but he ended up having to sign the bill to make Martin Luther King a federal holiday. So on Monday, the third Monday every year, is a federal holiday where it is Martin Luther King Day. And that came out of a struggle. That came out of us forcing that. When I was in school, there wasn't no Martin Luther King holiday. But I was part of the movement to make it that. Why have that holiday? Because Dr. King symbolized where blacks, for the first time, had public accommodation rights and voting rights. So just like we would celebrate Lincoln because of slavery, we celebrate King because segregation and voting rights was won under him. Well, this Martin Luther King Day on the 20th is also the day they're going to inaugurate Donald Trump. It is the custom that when there is a presidential campaign and election, that the third Monday they inaugurate that president. They will be at the Capitol swearing in Donald Trump. We are going to be in Washington having our King Day. And we're not going to the inauguration. We ain't going down there. You ain't got to worry about getting in no fights with no MAGA. But we are not going to let them take away that holiday and take away the dream of what Dr. King stood for. That is our day. We will be there in the nation's capital saying while you're swearing in the nightmare, we're going to be swearing in the dream. The nightmare will be in the capital, but the dreamers will be cross town, saying, though you slay me, yet will I trust you. So I want everybody to start signing up now. I'm going to release early next week where we're going to start. We're going to have a rally and then have our march in Washington on that day. And again, we're not going to act like thugs and hoodlums like they did January 6th. We're not going down to stampede them. We ain't going to be near them. But we are going to be standing up in the name of Martin Luther King in the nation's capital. It's our federal holiday. And you that at the House of Justice can sign up at the counter. You that are watching us on Impact or Listener Radio can call 877-626-4651. Say, I want to be on one of the buses. Buses leaving from my city. We're taking, and we go have buses leaving from here to take you to Washington and bring you back. But we ought to have thousands that are with us on that day. Now, many would say, why would I say nightmare and dream? Well, for you that did not believe it before. You can believe it now. I spoke last night at a gathering in White Plains, the largest synagogue in White Plains. And they had me on a panel with Amy. We talked about racism, anti-Semitism, and hate. And I was saying to them, for those 90% audience, Jewish, and I said, we all may have our differences. I'm for a two-state solution, but I'm not pro-Netanyahu. But I believe that we've got to deal with innocent people being killed. But none of us can argue that when you have a man that in the first week of winning will nominate these people to the cabinet that he has nominated, he has made a mockery of government. I mean, this goes across racial lines. To take a man that was in serious investigation for sex trafficking, where witnesses say they witnessed him having sex with an underage girl, and there was all kind of allegations and evidence against him. Then the House Ethics Committee investigating him for criminal behavior, they were to drop their investigation report on Friday. On Wednesday, Donald Trump announced he was nominating him to be the Attorney General. I want y'all to watch that now. They were investigating, had witnesses and testimony against then Congressman Matt Gaetz. Trump all of a sudden announces Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General, to be over the Justice Department that Gaetz said he wanted to eliminate. Now, the trick is, by him resigning, the Ethics Committee can't release the report because he's no longer a member of Congress. So a lot of people are speculating, did they pull him out of the race or pull him out of the Congress to save the report, thinking he may not get confirmed? I got one of the members of the Judiciary Committee going to be on Politics Nation, my show today. 5 o'clock at 5 o'clock Eastern Time on MSNBC. I'm going to have one of the Judiciary Committee. I want to know how they're going to allow this to happen and whether they can put the report out anyhow. So make sure y'all watch Politics Nation at 5 o'clock today and tomorrow. Patrick Young don't miss it no time. He don't even take appointments to preach in the evening. You got to watch my show. But the mocking of the system, you gonna take a man under that kind of scrutiny and appoint him Attorney General. A guy said to me the other day, I was going to the 30 Rockefeller Center to do morning show about 5:45 in the morning. And God said to me in the street, I don't even know what he was out that early for. Said, right now, can you believe that Trump would nominate somebody with these clouds to be the Attorney General? I said, yeah, Trump got 34 felony convictions. Can you believe that the U.S. elected a man with 34 convictions and found of sexual assault and elected him as president over one of the most qualified women that ever walked the face of this earth? And some of y'all run around talking about, well, I don't know what the Democrats did for me. They didn't do enough, but they did a lot more than Trump ever did for me. And Pat Jones just said they're going to find out. You see who he nominated. Yeah. If you think Matt Gaetz fought against the George Floyd bill, voted against it, voted against voting rights. So you know the Civil Rights Division in the Justice Department would die without him, with him there as the head of it. Then if that wasn't bad enough, he goes and puts over Health and Human Services. Robert Kennedy Jr. Hello. Robert Kennedy Jr., who says that we don't need vaccines. People died over COVID-19. I tell the people on my radio show, I'm not talking about stuff I studied. We stood right here in the House of Justice, worked with Central Kitchen, World Central Kitchen. We fed over 1 million people over those 2 years. I'm talking about right here. Had masks on and came out anyhow and served here 6 days a week and served in front of Sylvia's every Sunday. Because people was locked in their house. And you gonna put a man that said don't use vaccines, that this ain't a serious disease, and you gonna put him over Health and Human Services? No, you getting ready to understand what you did with Trump. Then he got Tulsi Gabbard, who's friendly with Putin. And you gonna put Putin's friend over intelligence. And then we were proud when Joe Biden, among other things, had made Lloyd Austin the first black Secretary of Defense. First time a black was over the Pentagon. Now Trump is nominating this guy, Hedman, to become the Secretary of Defense. He was a Fox News host that was accused of covering up war crimes. So everybody that he has nominated has been extreme and been a threat to this country. But sometimes you got to suffer to understand that you need to stay on course. Some of y'all run around, you got too comfortable. You stop rallying. You stop believing in the things that made your grandma and your grandpa fight to give you right. You enjoy the life that they never lived. And sometimes God will let things happen to get your attention. Sometimes he'll bring you to your knees so you learn how to pray on your knees. God called me a very prominent minister and said to me, Reverend Al, he said, I just don't know what to do. I'm scared of where we're going. I said, well, I'm concerned, but I'm not scared. First of all, because I know that the same God of the sunshine is the God of the rain. And I told him, I said, you know, I went back to the book. And that, I don't care who you are. You got to be grounded in the book. You know, every time I get discouraged, I look out and I see Corey Weiss here, did 13 years in jail for being falsely accused with fathers in Central Park rape. But somehow he held it together, and look at him now, sitting up here every Saturday. I look at Terrence Floyd, brother, man put his knee on his brother's neck and killed him on videotape. Turned Terrence's whole life around, but Terrence is standing up here strong here every Saturday. Terrence Floyd, George Floyd. I look at how the whole world watched police choke this young man to death for nothing. Talking about some Lucy cigarettes. In Staten Island. But Gwen Carr, his mama, became a leader and stood up with other mothers for justice. Somehow they found power in their pain. And I'm telling you that if you know what you know, there's power in your pain. Because you learn how to take the pain and keep going anyhow. And soon the pain don't hurt no more. Because those that instill the pain can't take the pain they instill. I went back to the book. There's a story, and I'll let you go with this. There's a story about a king named Darius. And Darius, as king, you know, once you become powerful, people can flatter you and people can play on your ego. And they came to Darius and said, Darius had set up, he had 120 people that were parts of his kingdom that would keep things stable and keep things running. And over them were 3 administrators. One of the administrators was named Daniel. Daniel was one of the administrators over the 120 that ran the kingdom for the leaders and the Persians under Darius. And they came to Darius, flattered him, and said, Darius, for 30 days, O mighty king, you should not allow anyone to bow to any other god. They should bow to you. That's how, you know, some folk going to Mar-a-Lago now. You the boss. You can put thugs in the Justice Department. You the boss. You can put guys accused of malfunctions over the Defense Department. You the boss. Just like they told Darius. And Darius, his ego was weak enough, fragile enough, that they could prey on him. Be careful of people that puff you up beyond your common sense. People be praising you, and you know you ain't all that.
That's right.
You know, I like anybody else, I like people give you a compliment, but don't get too crazy. People tell me, Brother Al, I don't know what I'd do without you. You 70 years old, you better do all right. Don't pump me up. You made it thus far without me. So Darius made the rule and said for 30 days, can't bow to no God but mine. You got to follow the edicts of the Persians and the Medes. And he made this rule and made it law. And he put the punishment, he applied the punishment to the law. And said that if anybody is found bowing to any other God, I have a den of lions down here. And I'm going to unseal the lion's den and put you in the den of lions. And you'll be devoured for bowing to other gods. Well, Daniel, who was pretty well set in the administration, one of the 3 administrators, but he was grounded in something. Even though he had a high position, he believed in the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And in them days, they said that the houses you could hear outside was going on, there was no closure. And they could hear 3 times a day, he was still bowing to the God of Abraham. And they turned him in. They went and said, King Darius, we caught Daniel. He's still praying and bowing to another God. King, even though he liked Daniel, said, well, he got to suffer the punishment. And the Bible said he threw him in the den of lions. I'm talking to somebody here that's scared of Trump. No matter what they do, let me tell you the Daniel story. What Darius didn't understand is you control the lion's den, but you didn't create the lions. and you didn't create what will happen with nature. God is still in charge. And when they threw Daniel in the lion's den, the Bible said God discharged an angel and sent the angel to the den of lions and locked the lion's jaws. And when they rolled the stone back the next morning, Daniel walked out without a scratch on him. And the lions were sitting there. I serve a God that no matter what they do, God can take the bite out of lions' mouth. God can take the heat out of fiery furnace. God can take the cross as a pathway to the resurrection. I'm not bowing to Trump. I'm bowing to the God of Abraham. I'm bowing to the God of Isaac and Jacob. I'm bowing to the God that Dr. King said we shall overcome. God is still on the throne. You may be on your way to the White House, but you can't take God off the throne. He'll make a way out of no way. He walks with me. He talks with me. He tells me I'm his own. Get the lion's den ready. I'm going to pray anyhow. Get the punishment ready. I'm going to call him anyhow. Get all of your bad press ready. I'm going to stand up anyhow. He promised. He promised. He promised never to leave me. Never to forsake me. Never. Never to leave me alone. I rode through, going to an appointment the other day. I rode through Brooklyn. Told the car, guy driving, want to go through Brownsville. I grew up in Brownsville. They called it then the worst slum in this country. And I looked, there were still some guys there, homeless, called a Sutter Avenue. And I thought about that song. Because according to the demographic studies, according to the sociologist Patrick Young, I should have been on that corner.
Yes, sir.
According to people that taught us in public schools,
Yes, sir.
I should have been dead by now off of drugs. Or if I made it, sitting up in jail serving a long time. But the difference between me and some of them is I had a praying mother that made me go to church and taught me that prayer changes things. And as I was riding through Brownsville the other day, I remember that song, It Could Have Been Me. Don't ever get so big and bad that you look down on other folks. It could have been you. Outdoors. With no food. Y'all sing that for me a little bit. Could have been me. This your husband. But God made a way out of nowhere.
Tragedies are commonplace. All kinds of diseases. People are slipping away. Economy's down. People can't get enough pay. But as for me, all I can say Thank you.